A 4 by 2 kilometer coral outcrop in the northern Persian Gulf. No major city, no significant garrison. Yet Kharg Island channels nearly all of Iran's crude exports through 4 deep water berths and a single pipeline. In March 2026, 5,000 Marines with F-35B Lightning II aircraft overhead would move to seize it intact, not to destroy Iran's oil lifeline, but to control it. The operation was never planned to last 12 hours. Kharg Island's physical reality stands in stark contrast to its global economic weight. Just 4 kilometers long and 2 kilometers wide, this low-lying coral outcrop sits 30 kilometers off Iran's coast, barely rising 12 meters above the sea. Yet its eastern shoreline is lined with a 2-kilometer terminal complex, with 4 deep-water berths, each built to handle the world's largest oil tankers. The berths are not scattered. They cluster on a single reinforced jetty system, all fed by a single 22-inch pipeline that snakes from the island's storage tanks to the loading arms. 9 massive crude tanks, each holding over 300,000 barrels, dominate the island's center, with smaller intermediate tanks and a maintenance yard close by. Total on-site storage reaches 2.5 million barrels, enough to keep tankers moving even if mainland flow is disrupted. The deep channel north of the island is the only spot along Iran's coast where very large crude carriers can berth safely. Satellite tracking from early 2026 confirms the tempo, with 3 or 4 very large crude carriers and up to 8 Suezmax tankers cycling through each week, loading over 1 million barrels per day. All of it moves through this single node, 1 pipeline, 1 cluster of berths, 1 concentrated storage farm. The entire operation depends on the integrity of these few pieces of infrastructure. Damage to the pipeline or a single jetty could halt exports overnight, and a fire in the tank farm would ripple through global oil markets. Iran's strategy reflects this vulnerability. Redundant offshore loading barges and a floating storage unit now sit just west of the main terminal, a hedge against further strikes. But the heart of the system remains fixed. Kharg's infrastructure is both a lever and a liability. Control of these berths and tanks offers not just a chokehold on Iranian oil revenue, but a tool to shape energy flows far beyond the Gulf. This is why military planners see the island not as a battlefield to be razed, but as a target to be seized intact and held under tight, rapid control. The F-35B Lightning II is the Marine Corps' answer to the challenge of projecting power onto Kharg Island. Its short takeoff and vertical landing, known as STOVL, lets it operate from amphibious assault ships such as USS Tripoli and USS Boxer, bypassing the need for long runways. In the crowded shallow waters of the northern Gulf, this flexibility turns every LHA and LHD into a launch pad within striking distance of the Iranian coast. The jet's internal weapons bay is designed for stealth and precision. It can carry up to 4,500 pounds of ordnance inside, typically 2 GBU-31 or GBU-38 Joint Direct Attack munitions, or small diameter bomb, 2 munitions. Keeping weapons internal preserves its low observable profile, allowing it to slip past radar and strike air defenses or hardened targets before the enemy can react. External pylons offer more firepower, but every pound added outside the bay cuts into the F-35B's ability to land vertically, especially when Gulf deck temperatures soar above 35 degrees Celsius. Pilots must balance fuel and payload, adjusting each sortie to the heat and the mission. The F-35B's sensor suite, anchored by the AN/APG-81 AESA radar and the distributed aperture system, feeds targeting and threat data directly into the amphibious group's network. Pilots can spot, classify, and assign targets, or stream live imagery to Marines preparing to move ashore. This real-time picture lets the F-35B suppress enemy air defenses, clearing a path for Ospreys, AAV-7 vehicles, and landing craft. Its mission is not massed ground attack, but to blind sensors, disable threats, and provide precise support as Marines establish their foothold. The F-35B transforms static strategy into a plan of action. The 31st and the 11th Marine Expeditionary Units, each numbering around 2,500 Marines, formed the backbone of the initial assault. USS Tripoli and USS Boxer serve as their launch platforms, positioned in the northern Gulf to maximize reach while staying within the protective envelope of F-35B air cover. Reconnaissance elements, scout snipers, and force recon move first, inserted by MV-22 Ospreys under the cover of darkness. Their objective is to secure landing zones and identify remaining threats along Kharg Island's western and northern approaches. Once the recon teams signal green, the main force begins its phased landing. MV-22 Ospreys fly in successive waves, each carrying a platoon-sized element directly onto the sand and rocky inlets. Within minutes, AAV-7. Amphibious assault vehicles launch from the well decks, churning towards shore to deliver mechanized infantry. The timing is tight. Ospreys and AAVs must land in rapid sequence to avoid bottlenecks and keep momentum. LCACs, loaded with LAV-25 vehicles and logistics vehicles, follow close behind, targeting secondary objectives like the airstrip and the maintenance yard. Throughout, F-35B aircraft orbit overhead, scanning for missile launches or armored counterattacks. Every movement is coordinated to establish a lodgment before Iranian forces can regroup. The phased approach ensures that if resistance stiffens, reserve elements on USS Boxer and USS Tripoli can reinforce or exploit gaps. By sunrise, the Marines aim to hold key nodes, the oil terminal, the storage farm, and the airfield, under a layered air and sea shield, setting conditions for rapid exploitation or withdrawal as ordered. The 82nd Airborne Division stands as the designated Rapid Reserve, held on high alert at Fort Bragg with over 3,000 paratroopers and support personnel ready to deploy. Airlift plans rely on C-17 and C-130 J transports pre-positioned for a 24 to 48-hour response window, able to deliver troops to forward bases in Qatar, Bahrain, or, if secured, Kharg's own airstrip. The calculus behind this reserve is rooted in both speed and risk. Air-land insertion requires a usable runway and local air superiority, but offers greater safety and sustainment than a mass parachute drop. An airdrop, by contrast, can place a battalion on the ground, even if the airfield is contested, but at the cost of scattered landings, limited heavy equipment, and high injury risk. The division's presence signals a contingency backstop, not a commitment to ground occupation. Sustainment remains a constraint. Airborne units can bring only what fits in their packs and pallets, and would depend on rapid follow-on supply flights or link up with Marine elements. Politically, deploying Army paratroopers carries a heavier cost than reinforcing with Marines alone, raising questions about escalation and mission creep. The Airborne Reserve is a safety net, credible but designed to be used only if the initial assault meets unexpected resistance, or if Iranian counterattacks threaten to overwhelm the lodgment. In the planning rooms, the 82nd is both reassurance and a warning. The operation's limited aims rest on holding the line between swift seizure and a drawn-out ground fight. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has pushed its True Promise 4 label across every official channel, framing each missile and drone strike as part of a relentless campaign against US and Israeli targets. IRGC spokesmen insist their latest TP-4 attacks used less than half their missile reserves, but outside analysts, citing satellite images and intercepted signals, question whether Iran's arsenal is running low after more than 50 launches. The messaging aims to project strength while concealing strain. In the US, Joe Kent's resignation on March 19th exposed sharp divisions. Kent accused senior planners of misleading Congress, arguing the 12-hour seizure was never real. Internal briefings always predicted a drawn-out campaign. His call for a limited, precision approach has fueled debate over the risks of escalation and the true cost of commitment. Satellite images from March 13th show a pattern of fresh craters pockmarking the northern military plateau on Kharg Island, each one a signature of U.S. precision strikes. The oil jetties, storage tanks, and the main export pipeline stand untouched, intact by design. CENTCOM statements confirm the intent. Degrade Iranian air defenses and command nodes, but spare the economic lifeline. Iranian repair crews, backed by the Navy's engineering corps, mobilize quickly to patch runways and perimeter roads, while national Iranian oil company teams continue loading crude at all 4 berths. AIS data tracks tankers cycling through the terminal without interruption. Meanwhile, Iran shifts a portion of its exports to improvised offshore loading barges and a floating storage unit anchored west of the island. This adaptation keeps oil flowing, but underscores the message: U.S. forces can shape the battlefield and disrupt defenses, yet leave the global oil market steady. The opening blows are measured, calibrated to avoid the shock of burning infrastructure. Planners shaped the Kharg Island operation around a temporary seizure, not an open-ended occupation. The intent was to hold the oil terminal and airstrip just long enough to neutralize the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps threats and prevent sabotage, then transfer custodianship to a neutral interlocutor, possibly under United Nations supervision or a regional body. This approach aimed to deny Tehran its main revenue stream while keeping oil flowing, but it walked a legal tightrope. International law experts warned that even a short-term hold by the United States could trigger claims of unlawful occupation, risking censure from the United Nations Security Council, or a case before the International Court of Justice. The handover concept was designed to blunt these legal risks, but it depended on swift diplomacy and the willingness of outside actors to step in. Meanwhile, everyday Marines remained ashore, increased the risk of escalation, whether through Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, missile attacks on shipping, or a broader regional backlash. The operation's success would be judged not just by military gains, but by how quickly control could be relinquished without tipping the Gulf into a wider war. Today, 5,000 Marines stand ready offshore, F-35Bs overhead, aiming for control, not occupation, of Kharg's vital infrastructure. The debate over limited objectives versus escalation remains unresolved, even as senior leaders acknowledge a campaign, not a raid. In the Gulf, decisions made in hours may shape security for years. Share your thoughts below.